Thank you for being here this afternoon. Welcome to the first talk of Hack. My name's Sagar. I'm the founder of CodeZone and the lead organizer of Hack. Today, we're pleased to announce and welcome Abhi Jain, who's a GitHub campus expert, a freelance developer, and also an open source contributor who's coming in from Indore, Madhya Pradesh. Now, Abhi, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks for the intro, Sagar. So now let's begin with our session for the day. And the session title says, Let's Flutter. So basically, this session is split up into 5 major parts. And the parts are introduction to UI designing, hands-on with Figma, then we'll have some Flutter mashup, then I'll show you the live coding session, and towards the end, we'll try to join all pieces together and make something fruitful out of it. So without wasting any time, let's start. So here are two designs on your screen, the design A and design B. So which one of the two do you think is the correct design? You can put your comments in the comment section. Now, most of you might have picked the answer B as the correct design because that looks aesthetically more pleasing to the eye of a human person. But for a designer, the design A is the correct one. Why? Because design A uses two kinds of icons. One is the outlined icons. As you can see here, these two are outlined, and the other two are filled icons. Whereas in design A, all the 4 icons are filled icons, and that is consistent with our design patterns. So here, design A is correct. Now you might get an idea how a designer must think like and make things pretty consistent so that it targets more audience than usual. Then what is UI designing actually? Theoretically, the definition is taken from Wikipedia and I'll just read it for you. User interface design is a process designers use to build interfaces in software or computerized devices, focusing on looks or style. Designers aim to create interfaces which users find easy to use and pleasurable. And this is the theoretical one, and the definition as per me is making imagination visible. Now that might started making sense to you that whatever you are imagining, making it visually visible to other people and sharing your ideas in terms of a design is more or less called as UI designing. Now we'll jump right into Figma so that we can get a quick hands-on on Flutter on the UI designing part. But before that, here is a screen that I have created, and we'll be mocking up the second screen here today in our live session. So you can now open your browser tabs and visit figma.com. Now, Figma is a fast web-based design tool that's free to use. You can instantly pop into Figma and start creating designs. As I have already signed in, that's why my name is showing here. And if you have not signed in already, there must be a sign in or sign up option. So kindly use sign in with Google so that the process gets a bit seamless. After that, you will be able to see a dashboard like this, where you have a add button on the top right corner. That's for creating a new file. When you click onto that, you will enter a new dashboard with untitled file name. That is, you have not given the file name yet. Now we'll try to explore the various components that Figma has to offer us. The first one here is the frame or slice option. Frame, as you can read from the name, frame is actually the part inside which your UI resides. Slice is for cutting the corners. Here you have the shape tools, which have the various shapes that you might need in your design, such as rectangle, line, arrow, ellipse, polygon, star. You can even place images in your Figma design. After that, you have the pen tool here. You can also use the pencil tool to draw freehand designs. After that, you have the text box and hold and comment box. So these are the various options that Figma has to offer. Now, as we have discussed earlier, we'll be making that UI, which I have shown you in the presentation. I'll just open it for you again. So this is the UI that we are trying to mock up in Figma today. So here, first of all, what we need to do is select a frame. Now, as of now, we are targeting Android smartphone, and my favorite phone is Pixel 2. So I'll select Pixel 2 frame from here. You can see here that the frame with exact dimensions of Pixel 2 screen have been created for us to use. After that, if you can see here, we have this title, name task. So it is a text widget that we can easily use from Figma and enter here tasks. Figma gives us freedom to adjust the text and its position according to the style we need. So here you have various font styles available to use, and my favorite one is Poppins. I'll make it Poppins, and we can even increase or decrease the size from here. And at the end, we need to position it. Now, one thing what we can do is manually drag and drop wherever we need. Or instead, what we can do is use the auto layout tool that will align it for us in the immediate center of this frame. After the title is made, what we need to do is add our favorite section, that is for the favorite task. Again, it all starts with the text widget. Here I need to decrease the size a bit so that it doesn't take up whole of my screen. After that, here is the text card. So you can create it with rectangle tool here. The default size of the rectangle that Figma serves us is 100 cross 100. But I need a rectangle that's a bit wider. So I can adjust it with the widget properties here. So I'll just make it 150. And the sharp corners are usually not aesthetically that pleasing. So I'll make it a bit round. So the corner radius property of this rectangle helps us make it a bit rounder. So 5 is pretty decent here, I guess. Yeah. After that, I can even change the color and choose from all 16 million colors that are available for us to use. But my favorite being the black, I'll keep it black and minimal. Now, we can add the title and a button to it for marking the task as complete. So I'll just drag the title widget here and write task 1. Again, I need to change the color of it to white because it's going to be there on my black widget. After making it, what I'll do is just drag it and drop it here. Now again, what we can do is use this auto layout tool to adjust it towards both vertical and horizontal centers. These are the various alignment options that Figma provides us. Then what we need to do is create that tick icon you saw in the bottom of the screen, this one. So there are a lot of plugins available in Figma, right? So if you go to the plugin section here, as you can see, I have already installed Iconify. So it's available for me to use. But if you have not installed it yet, you can just go to manage plugins and can search here. The plugin name is Iconify. Okay. After installing that plugin, it would be visible in your Figma dashboard. So just click on that. It will show a pop-up in which you can select the icons, whatever you need. So here my icon is right. So there are various options that you can pick from. Also, it can be named as text. So whichever seems right for you, you can just drag it and drop it on your screen. Again, here the color of the icon needs to be white because my background is black. So I'll just make it white and push it here in the right position. Now, if you try to just copy this and paste it, you will end up with getting only the card, but not its contents. So what we need to do is group all these components together so that they stay in their intact position wherever you drag and drop them. So there is a shortcut for that, Ctrl+G, or instead you can also right click and select the group option from here. Here I've already grouped, so it's ungrouped, but if you have not grouped yet, it will be showing group option here. After that, I'll be copying this complete group and pasting it again here. As you can see, the card itself has been copied with all its contents on it, right? After that, what we need to do is make the upcoming task section. So similarly, what we'll be using is the text widgets. And aligning it with the favorites option here. Now we need to create cards that are longer but less wider. So again, we drag a rectangle here. For example, or say 200. We make its width 120 and give it some corner radius. All right. Now again, we can make it different color as you wish, but I'll go with black as black is the minimal color that's available. I'll give the task name. As you can see, it's task 1. Description can also be added here. Task 1, color should be white. Just drag it and drop it. So it's as easy as using your MS Paint with given more freedom for you to play around. Alright, looks good, right? Now we'll be adding these buttons to it using our same plugin that we used earlier, Iconify. The tick icon, the star icon, and we need a delete icon. Cool. So we have all our resources. Now these are pretty big, so you can just make them small. Here you have the properties of this icon, and here is a link option so that you don't mess up with the dimensions of the object. Else, if you try to change the width to 10, see, you messed up the complete icon. So rather, just click on the link option so that the width and height adjust as per the requirements of the user. So if you try to make it like 30, so it will eventually crop down to 30 with all the parameters set to 30 and in proportion to the same. So we'll just drag it from here and drop it. Similarly for the star icon, we'll make it 30. And here you have the star icon. And here is a tick icon, and all the three should be white in color, as I have already mentioned. Now dragging and dropping each of them. I think we can make them a bit more smaller so that they fit in our screen. Right. So this is the pen icon. Right. If you are facing troubles with selecting the small icons, you can also use the layers option in the left panel to do that for you. Bit more smaller would make it better, I guess. Just, yeah, cool. We also have a tick icon lying here. We'll just put it in this place wherever it wants to be, and if we need, we can just align all of their horizontal vertical center so that they look good. We can also use a tidy up option so that it distributes the space between the icons. Okay. Now we can group this all together so that we don't need to create multiple cards that are similar to each other. I'll just select all the components, Control G, select this group and paste it. Yeah, there you go. You have the duplicate card here. You can align it with this card, right? And we are nearing two ends of this UI. The only thing left here is the Fab button. So Fab button can be split up into two parts, the circle and the plus. So for creating circle, you have the ellipse tool here. You'll drop it. Then we don't need our width and height to be different. We need to make a circle out of it. So we'll just click on the link constraint property again and make it 50, for example. Drag it and drop it right here. Make it black again. And again, we'll be using the Iconify tool. And the plus icon that's available here. Cool, this is the plus icon that we got. Again, linking the constraints, making it 25. So yeah, it's here only. Yeah. And now we need to make it white again. It's white. And we align it. Perfect. So that's how easy it was, just dragging and dropping things around and making your UI. Cool. Now let's move on further. Now there is a framework called Flutter framework. Now why Flutter first? Because let's just hop into their website so that you get a better idea of what Flutter looks like. Flutter is a Google UI toolkit for building beautiful, natively combined applications for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. That is, you can just write a single code and make it run on various platform options that are available for you to use. Now, according to me, basically using a front-end framework is adding life to a user interface because user interface is just a design with no or less interactions. Now, making a front-end from it makes it usable for a user. So, according to me, basically any front-end framework is just adding life to the user interface. Now, how do you think in terms of Flutter? So this is the UI that we created just now in Figma, and now we'll try to split it up and think in terms of Flutter framework. So Flutter basically has a lot of widgets available for you to use. The primary widget that we'll be using here is the title widget to paste our title of the app. After that, as you can see, this is a list of a few items. So in Flutter, you call it list view builder, and each item is called as list view items. Again, you can split up a component into rows or columns as per your requirements. Here I am using 3 rows. You can see row 1, row 2, and row 3. So after splitting it into the rows, you can easily manage any widget out of Flutter. And the icons you can see here are called icon buttons. Icons are just for representing something. And when we add a button to it, it has got a functionality to it. So Flutter calls it icon buttons. That is icon with a functionality. And towards the end, here we have the fab button, that is floating action bar. You might have seen this on various apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, or even Facebook. So this is the button that's most accessible by the user, and most of the enough functionalities are linked to the fab button itself so that it floats around and doesn't interfere your usage with the app, but also helps you with navigating throughout the app. All right, I think that makes some sense to you. Now, let's actually unleash the power of Flutter. So some of you might already have Flutter framework installed on your machine, and even if you don't have, you can try the website flutter.dev and get onto getting started option and install it as per your preferred operating system. I'm using Windows here and I've already set up the Flutter SDK, so we can just directly hop into the VS Code and we'll try to implement the UI that we just designed with Figma into an actual app with Flutter framework. So here I have installed the Dart plugin in the VS Code, so that would ease out our process. The first step what you have is you go to the command palette and write Flutter create project. So as I've already installed the plugin, you can just have a drag and drop menu from here where you can select Flutter new project. Then you need to enter name here. So we'll name it Code Zone. We need to pick a folder for it. So I'll prefer to do it on my desktop itself. And now the Flutter will run its usual processes of creating a new app. As you can see, the processes are running in background. And it has already started creating various files and resources that it will need for app to run. Okay, the Flutter project is ready and you can connect a device to run the app. So first of all, we'll try to understand the layout of a Flutter project. The first thing, as you can see here, is the Android and iOS subpart. As of now, we are developing for mobile phones, and mobile phones primarily use two platforms, Android and iOS. These folders contain specific bits that are related to Android platform and iOS platform for that instance. In the Android platform, you have the basic stuff that you might have already dealt with while making apps for native Android. These are the functionalities that you need to interact with Android operating system itself. And similarly goes for the iOS part. Now here is the main fun thing, the left part. This is what renders the UI for any Flutter app. So the base file that's provided to you is main.dart, which is primarily being loaded as the first screen of your Flutter app. Then you have the test widgets. You can write your testing scripts here. Then you have the project metadata, packages, the IML file, the pubspec.log, and pubspec.yaml, and a README file. So we'll just also hop into the YAML file so that you get a clear idea of what it looks like. So it's basically a set of resources that are linked to your Flutter project. For example, We are linking the Flutter SDK here. We are using the Cappuccino icons here. Then we are also adding the Deo dependencies of Flutter test framework. And our app uses material designs with set to true. And there are a lot of comments that the things you can uncomment and make it functional. For example, if you want to add a custom fonts, there is a predefined format for that. Similarly goes for various images that you can add right into your app. And there are a lot of packages that are available for you to use so that you don't have to write the functionality every time and straight away use those packages in your app so that the flow becomes streamlined and it's fast to develop a new app. Now, what we'll be doing is that we'll be running this up on an Android emulator that I've already created for us. We'll just use the start debugging option, and the name of our emulator is Ozone. So the option that's being given here to us is Start Ozone Mobile Emulator. This is my emulator. I'll just drop it to the side. So here you can see the various processes that the Flutter is doing for us in the background so that it can launch the app freely for us. Here you can see it's running the Gradle task assemble debug. Because we are primarily focused on an Android device as of now, it's making the app ready for Android framework. Now, how Flutter works actually. So Flutter is more of an abstraction layer that you add to an app. Any app that is being made with Flutter ships with a Flutter engine that's dedicated to the platform you are targeting. So for example, you are making an app for Android using Flutter framework. You'll have a Flutter engine that's actually converting the Dart code into the native Android code for you in the runtime so that you can effortlessly write your code in Dart and the process runs so seamlessly that you don't even realize a delay in the conversion process. And there is barely even any difference noticeable between the native apps and the Flutter app. Flutter is basically overruling everything, and there are a lot of platforms that are already supported, and every day new data and new widgets are being added to it so that the process becomes more streamlined. So here, this is the demo app that Flutter gives us for us to use. So here, if you push the button, the counter will increment by 1. So that's the basic functionality of the app. Now, what we'll be doing is that we'll be implementing the UI that we just made in terms of Flutter framework. So this is the boilerplate code that Flutter gives us, but actually we don't need any of it. So we'll just erase it from here. So we will just remove this also, this also. We also don't need any theme data here. We don't need the title. We just need a material app with the home part. So here, the home can be a scaffold. You can explore it, what scaffold is, but in terms of raw language, scaffold is basically the canvas which you are using to draw your Flutter app. Now, what we'll be doing is that we'll be having a body section. That is the main section of our app. So here we write body, and the app can be split up into various rows or columns. But for the purpose of showing you, I'm just using a text widget here that says hello. And Flutter has an awesome property of hot reload. That is, as soon as you save your file, the changes reflect instantly on your emulator without even a microsecond delay. So here you can see the hello is written at the top left corner. It's actually being hidden under the status bar, but it's there. Yeah. So what we'll be doing next here is that we'll be splitting up our UI in terms of rows and columns. Now, showing you that dummy screen would make the things more clear, I guess. So here is a screen, and here are the different sections of the screen that you are given. Okay, so these are the columns, these are the rows. So whenever you want to split the screen vertically, what you do is split it up into columns, and whenever you need a horizontal split, you use rows. So here we'll be using columns. Now we have children widgets property, that is a list of widgets that the column will hold as its children. Now, the first thing what we need to do is put up a title of tasks here. So we can simply use a text widget for that and write title. Good. But it's not positioned correctly, right? We wanted it to be on the center of the screen. and a bit lower down from the status bar so that it doesn't get hidden under that part. So what we'll be doing is that we'll be using the center widget and wrapping our text as a child of the center component like this. So as you can see now, it has moved towards the center, but still we need to provide it some padding, right? So Flutter has a padding widget for that purpose. You simply need to specify the child of padding widget and here specify the padding that you need. Here, you have the property of edge insets that Flutter provides you, and there are various parameters that it takes. So if you need to give even padding from all the ends, you can have the edge insets.all. If you want to provide it from left, top, right, bottom, then you can use LTRB from window padding, from love, from only, and from symmetric. So these are the various options. As of now, we'll be using the only property because we need to pad it only from the top, and the value here I'll be taking is 20. We can increase it as per our convenience until we are satisfied with the UI. Okay. Now the text seems a bit smaller, right? We can make it bigger by styling it. So there is a sub property of the text widget that's called style. It takes text style as parameter, and text style has various options available to it, like background color, color of the text, decoration, font family, font size, font weight, height, width, and whatnot. So what's the thing of our users? The font size property here, because we need to make the text a bit bigger, right? So we'll be using 30 here, for example, and it's better, I guess. You can also set font weight so that if you want to make it a bit bolder, right? Font weight W 500. Yeah, so it's a bit bolder as you can see. And the title here is was tasks. So yeah, it's good now. After this title widget, what we have was the fabs. So here we'll be having another padding in which we'll have another child of text. And what you'll be writing here is fibs, right? Oh, just a second, I forgot to give the padding property here. And inserts dot only left, and I need it to be 30 pixels from the left. Now, as you can see, everything is being aligned to the center. But we didn't specify that we want a bit just towards the center. So column basically aligns everything to center by default. And we can change this by specifying the cross-axis alignment to start. As you can see, the favorites have moved towards the left as we needed. Now we can style this text as per our requirements. And font size should be 20 here. Looks good. Okay. Now the main part. We need to add these containers, right? These containers. But we won't be building each and every container as we have already discussed in thinking in terms of Flutter. We'll have a list view builder here and each item will be added to this builder so that it satisfies our purpose. But we'll have a container to hold that thing as a whole because list view builder needs to have a specified height and width for it to render. Right? So we have a container here in which we'll mention the height as say 150, I guess it would work. After that, we'll have a child to this container that's list view builder. Right? So it takes various parameters and the necessary parameter here is the item builder property. Right? So item builder basically takes the build context of any widget. So build context and the context that we are using up here is context only because as you can see here, the build context name is context and iterator. So for example, int I is my iterator here. This is a sort of enhanced for loop. If you are thorough with Java, you might understand what I'm doing here, right? And after that, we need to return a widget. So we'll be returning a container here. So issues have been solved. Again, we need to specify the number of items that we are planning to render. So let it be 4 for now, right? Container. So whenever we are returning something, it must terminate with a semicolon, right? So here we add a semicolon to it, and we have an empty container that's being rendered. But we need the container to be a card, right? So what we can do here is that we can specify the width that we want the container to be, and make the card widget as its child. And the color of the card needs to be black, so colors dot black here. Moreover, what we can do is that we need to add text to it again, right? If you can see from here, these are the two rows that we are primarily dealing with. So again, what we'll be doing is that we'll be mentioning child property to this card. After that, we'll split up into columns. Now, why columns? Because as I've already mentioned, whenever you need a vertical split, you need columns, and wherever you need horizontal split, you need rows. So here we go. After that, we just have to put up a text that says task 1. And the default color is black, but black won't be visible on black. So we'll specify the color here to be white. Textile color colors dot white. Yes, you have something here, like right. You can see we have something here, but we need to specify some more things like the list view builder should scroll vertically instead of sorry, it should scroll horizontally and not vertically here, right? That's what we decided to do with our UI. So we'll specify this here. This scroll direction parameter takes an axis dot horizontal. Right. So now you can see we have these 4 cards that are scrolling horizontally in our view. Again, we need to position this text as per our requirements. So we'll just wrap it around in a padding container. We'll child to it like this. Padding edge inserts dot only top say 20. Cool. Now we can even make the text bigger for better visibility. So font size, here it goes 20. Perfect. Now we need to add that icon button. If you have noticed, here is our icon button, this right arrow, right? So again, we'll be adding another widget to the same children of container. Now we have the icon button that we can use it. It takes icon as a parameter, and we need to specify icon here, right? So icons dot done, and we are using outlined icons here, so done underscore outline. Also, you can see a preview of this icon in the left pane, right? We also need to specify its color to white. Yeah, so here we have the icon. Again, we need to position it as per our requirement. Also, we can give it some top padding so that it resides towards the bottom. Okay, it's overflowed. We need to decrease the padding. 40? Yeah, better, I guess. Also, as I've mentioned, that icon button can be pressed. So it also takes on pressed as a parameter in which you can specify the action that you need it to do for you. Here I'll just be printing hello in the debug console so that I can just show you that it works fine. So we have reloaded it, and whenever we click on that, it's writing hello to the debug console as expected. Cool. So this list view builder is more or less complete. You can just have some more padding towards the bottom of the favs. So here, bottom 30. So 20. Yeah, better. You can also have some padding towards the left of this list view builder. So container also accepts padding as a parameter, right? So edge inserts dot only left window or 10. Yeah, better. So now moving on further with our UI, we have this another list view builder that takes upcoming task as parameter. Now, why I'm doing this because I need to tell you that how you will be splitting the container into vertical as well as horizontal components all together, right? So we'll just have one more UI component here, that is a container again. This time around, height could be a bit bigger. So let's say 250 for instance, right? Oh wait, we just forgot to add the text that says upcoming tasks. So not an issue. Oh, emulator, yeah. So text here, coming, and every widget needs to terminate it. For every widget, we need to specify a delimiter that is comma in case of Dart, so that it can render it separately, right? Also, we can just copy the paddings from here so that we don't need to write the code again. Just copy this and change it to a command. Cool. We can have some top padding as well so that it looks cleaner. Cool. Now again, inside the container, as we did earlier, we'll have a list builder as a child element. Now, if you remember, we use the build context here and specified it as context, then an iterator. After that, and here we need to return a container. I think I missed a brace here, so I'll specify that. Cool. And item count here again. Wait, item count in the list view builder. Item count to be 4. Scroll direction to be axis dot horizontal. Great. Again, we'll specify its width to be 150, for example. Then create its child as card again and color it to black. Cool. So here we have all the cards that we need. Again, we'll have some padding here. Okay. Like work seamlessly, right? Now we need to add up the things that we have in the UI, right? So child will take some more child like column. Column will have its children widgets. The first widget being again the text widget, which says task 1. Another text widget that says description 1. And at the end we'll have some icons. Oh, we don't have it visible because the default color is black, if you remember by now. Style takes textile as parameter, the color being white. Yeah, it's visible now. So we'll just copy this property to the description widget also. Now we'll have some padding here to align the contents properly. We'll do similar things for our next text widget. Padding is inserts not only top 100. child, and we specify this child here. Font size can also be specified here, 20. So we mess up somewhere, I guess. Yeah, cool. So it can be a bit lesser, I guess. Yeah, it works fine here. Cool. So towards the end, what we have here is these icon buttons, and these all are present in a one row. So we'll have a row here. The row also takes registered parameter, and we have icon buttons.
Hey Abhi, there's someone in the comments asking, what if I want to use custom colors?
Okay. So if you want to use custom colors, there is a property for that. So color, and you can mention your color like in hexadecimal format here. It starts with 0x and FF for the transparency and followed by a 6-digit hexadecimal code for that color. That's how you do it in Flutter. So let's have an example color. If you want, I can just take a color from Figma, like this one. So I'll specify it here. See, we have this icon button with gray color. Now, gray might not be as visible as you think. So yeah, I'll just take some other color for you. Yeah, let me just. Cool. So I think you got it covered. So for now, we'll be using white only. So that's colors dot. So whenever you want to use something that's predefined in Flutter, you can simply use colors dot and specify that particular color. And if you need something custom, then you have the constructor of colors, that is color without an S. And you specify the color in the format as the OX that represents the hexadecimal format. The next two characters represents the transparency that you want, and next 6 characters are for the hexadecimal code of that particular color. So here you have the arrow icon. After that, we need a delete icon here. Yeah, as you can see, we have this icon here. And at last, we have the star icon here. Okay, icon button. So it's overflowing a bit, so we'll just increase the size of the container to say 180. Cool, it fits in everything properly now. Now we need to align it. So in case of row, we'll specify the main axis alignment to be main axis alignment dot center. Perfect. Now we'll just have some space here. So for spacing, we can do padding, 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 and edge inserts. Not only top, say 20. Then child and a row widget here. We can even increase it to 40 if you want, or even 50. That looks more pleasing. Fine. Now what we're left with is adding the fab icon to our window. Now that's the last thing that we'll be doing with this app. So we'll just specify it somewhere here after the scaffold. After this column is over, we can have a floating accent button here. Floating accent button. We can specify the background color here in case we want black. We have black. Then we'll have the plus icon as its child, so icon button, or we can simply have an icon because tab is already a button, I think. Yeah. So it's icons dot done. Yes, right. Perfect. So you can even match it to the UI, and it's perfectly same to what we have shown you earlier, right? So that's how easy it's to write applications with Flutter framework. Now, moving on further with the presentation, we'll just quickly try to wind it up in the joining pieces together section. You already know that you can simply pop into Figma and convert the UI directly into Flutter code. So that's something very amazing, and it's being developed actively by a lot of developers, and you will see eventual progress over the course of time. So here are the two basic packages that are available to us. So first one is Figma to Flutter, that's being listed over here, and another one is bringing in Figma to Flutter. So that basically transfer your key sets from your Figma profile to your Flutter app. That makes the transition a bit more fluent. So these things are being actively developed, and you can expect them to be publicly available over the course of few days. Now, my final thoughts over this. So why I taught you all this? Because usually what happens during hackathons is that people focus more on the backend logics and forget to focus on the front-end logics. But being a judge, I know that there is some bit is that's being given to the front end of an application also. In case of tiebreakers, we use the front end as a parameter to judge which application is more aesthetically pleasing. And even that can compensate your drawbacks in backend logics. And creating front end is pretty simple as compared to backend. So what I need is that this hackathon is a big hackathon. So you must focus even on the UI along with the backend logic so that at the end of the day, you build something that's complete and what you can even put on in your resume. Rather than just running your code from terminals, you could have a front end that the user can actually interact with, and the product is a usable product for the crowd. So those were my final thoughts. You can connect with me over my website, devabi.tech. Here I have linked all my social media handles, so you can hop into any of them and get in touch with me in case of any doubts. You can even tag me in the Discord channel, and I'll be happy to help you. If you have any doubts, then you can simply paste your doubts in the comment section, and we'll be taking it over the course of next 5 minutes. Sagar, you can join in now.
Yeah, I mean that's so true. Like a lot of participants usually just forget on how important the front end is,
Yeah,
and usually they just focus on the back end and the logic, and in the end, the app is, even though the app has so much potential, they just don't end up like showing that to the judges. So yeah, I
yeah.
hope like a lot of people actually end up using Flutter because of this talk.
Mhm.
So yep. So thank you everyone for joining. We'll see you in the next talk, and thank you Abhi for giving this wonderful talk on Flutter.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks a lot for joining. I'll see you around.
Bye guys.